I have some breaking news. I went to a Club World Cup game. Not one of the big ones. Not one of the big haughty-toddy ones with a Brazilian team or an Argentine team or Real Madrid. I went to the smallest Club World Cup game that I could possibly find, which is quite the coincidence because I heard that Zealand actually also went to the same games. It's a shame I didn't run into him. I would have tried to get him to sign my Loans merch. But we were both there kind of separately, which maybe one day the Zealand verse will collide. But I didn't run into him on this occasion. What I did get was a front row seat to all of the wonderful and weird things in this tournament. And you may have been with me on this channel, right, as we've kind of been, I was traveling and just haven't been able to record a lot of Zealandisms lately. We've been trying to digest what the Club World Cup is because we know it's a money grab from FIFA, right? Like we know FIFA's just coming out and saying, we want to compete with the Champions League. Gianni Infantino wants to create the world's premier club competition. He wants to beat the Champions League. He wants to get all of the money that's available from things like the Champions League. You just take it and then life be good, right? But we get to decide whether we like it or not. We get to sit here and decide whether we actually want to watch it, whether we should actually care. And of course, the South Americans have already decided that they care. I saw that when I went to the match with Palmeiras and everything else. But the real question is these teams that nobody cares about on the global stage. Teams like Mamelodi Sundowns, teams like Ulsan HD Park, right, from South Korea. These teams that are not going to draw any crowd really at all. And that's what happened. I mean, when I walked into the game, you know, at a normal sporting event, there's like a big crowd outside or something. I'm walking into the game, there's no crowd, right? I just walk straight in. I walk right up to the gate, ask the guy where I can buy a ticket, and then he says I have to buy it online. I step off to the side, buy it online, and then walk through the gate, right? The concourse is largely empty. I believe with the time the game was getting set to kick off, there maybe were 2,000 people in the entire stadium, which is very echoey. It's very empty, right? This is a 25,000 seat stadium for Orlando City and MLS with about 2,000 people in it, right? You're talking about less than 10% of the stadium being full at that point. There was a whole section of the upper deck where there was literally nobody sitting there, right? That does not mean that it wasn't fun. I had a lot of fun at this game. And it doesn't mean that nobody cared about it either. That's where this gets super complex because there is never really, I mean, I know the Club World Cups existed before. There has never really been a situation where you've been, I don't want to say expected, but offered the opportunity as a fan of a club to travel around the world to watch your team. Right? For a lot of nations, this is crazy. South Korea is not that big. If you're a home and away Ulsan HD Park guy, right, the vast majority of your away days are just hop on the train, right? It's like England over there. Now, obviously, if you've got Asian Champions League, that does give you the opportunity to travel basically halfway across the world if you're playing in Saudi Arabia or whatever. But this is different gravy. And somehow, potentially, even farther away in Orlando from South Korea. This is literally the other side of the world. And in South Africa, obviously, they play an African Champions League, so you're going to get that opportunity to travel every once in a while. But the expectation that you would travel to a different continent in order to support your club, that's never really existed. And so I can't tell you, sitting here right now, if that's something that's going to grow. If we do this 20 years from now, if there's going to be a whole wall of Ulsan fans because they're, you know, back in their third Club World Cup and they really believe this time and they want to get all the dudes together. Because right now what happened is there was basically like 100 people in this Ulsan fan section and a good collection of Korean Americans. I was able to meet a few of them. Korean Americans that just happened to be in Orlando on vacation or lived in the area that just decided to swing down and watch the Korean team and kind of clap along with the few people that came over from South Korea. And there were those people. But it was also an excuse. It was almost like a dual-wielding vacation because they could also go to Disney World and Universal, right? It was the people I talked to were excited. They came to Orlando for 6 days. They were going to go to the game, and then they wanted to kind of go to the theme parks afterwards, which I guess in that sense it was a good choice. There were the same sort of people going around for Mamelodi Sundowns. There were people that came all the way from South Africa that made, one lady that made a spectacular kind of headdress, and they were dancing along, and there was a little section, I want to say maybe 200, 300 people from Mamelodi Sundowns. They had the drum and everything. And then there was also a guy I met from Jacksonville. which is about 2 hours from Orlando. And he just went, well, I grew up in Botswana. I'm a Mamelodi Sundowns fan, and this was an opportunity to watch my team play, so he drove down. For those people, particularly those people that lived in the area and finally got to watch their team, right, this was a special moment. And everybody that was supporting both of the teams particularly was very excited for this tournament. This was an opportunity to see their club play in a big, important situation, in a tournament with teams like Real Madrid and PSG. And they were excited about it. But how much, I'm excited for them. I am. Call me human. I was excited for them and happy for them that they were getting to see their team play in this kind of tournament. Even though this match didn't necessarily have the pomp and circumstance. I mean, it did. It had all of the banners on the field and the smoke and the intro, right? There just wasn't a lot of people there. So it didn't have the same overall big game feel. But as they go through the tournament, they're going to be playing in games in bigger stadiums against, bigger teams. Then these are the two teams basically you expect to be in the bottom half of this group anyways. I can't remember at the moment who they're supposed to be in the group with. They are with Dortmund and Fluminense. Now, that Fluminense match is going to be absolutely crazy, right? The Dortmund match is probably going to be pretty populated too, obviously, relative to the match that I went to. But I'm happy for those fans. I'm happy for those players. I met the wife of one of the players. There was an hour-long lightning delay. I got to talking to people. The wife of one of the players who had transferred to South Africa. She was Brazilian. He was Brazilian. They transferred to South Africa to play at Mamelodi Sundowns so they could play in this tournament. I mean, so the Club World Cup does have that draw, that potential big game, big tournament draw that is attracting fans, that is attracting people. Problem is it's not attracting enough fans. I think the difference between the Club World Cup and the actual World Cup is the World Cup is the biggest sporting event in the world. Olympics is number 2. The Men's World Cup is the biggest sporting event in the world. It's watched by more people. I don't know if it's attended by more people, but you can put a World Cup match at midnight on a Sunday on the moon, and there will be people there. The Club World Cup doesn't have that same thing. People that I know that know soccer in the United States, that follow the sport, that maybe even have a favorite club in the Premier League or whatever that they follow pretty religiously, they have asked me, what's going on? They have no idea. It's not on regular television in the United States. DAZN they own the global streaming rights, and nobody uses DAZN in the U.S., right? It's not a popular streaming thing at all. It's very popular in other parts of the world, but in the United States, I didn't even have it. I had to create it just to be able to watch a Club World Cup game, which, yes, I did catch myself watching a Club World Cup game. Jury's out if I care or not. But it was after the Mamelodi Sundowns Ulsan match that I was like, you know what? This is at least interesting. It's weird in that the people there do care, and that it's fascinating, and it's weird in that nobody really seems to know what's going on. Even the players themselves. It's a completely new experience. I mean, you're watching a South Korean-heavy club team play against a South African-heavy club team. I mean, this is the sort of stuff that just never happens, right? Maybe it happened at the old Club World Cup, but that was a glorified friendly tournament. This is supposed to be, in name and in prize money, a huge deal. And you just don't see teams from this different a footballing background, this different of a footballing league, get together and play on the same field. And that clash of styles was evident, and it was interesting. And there was a real feeling of parity in this match in particular because nobody can honestly tell you who the hell's better. Mamelodi Sundowns or Ulsan? I didn't know. It's like a sorting hat moment. We're setting the baseline for what league is better than what league, what team is better than what team in this. And I think a lot of that can be cool. And I think that if the Club World Cup had been advertised 4 years in advance, where they said, okay, 2029, we're going to do a Club World Cup, right? So everybody that wins a continental tournament from here on out is going to be going to that Club World Cup, and the rest of you are playing for coefficient spots so that you can go to this Club World Cup. In 4-year buildup, you get there, then maybe it would be a bit bigger of a deal. But even in the best case scenario, it's never going to be as big as the World Cup. And even in the best case scenario, you're always going to end up with two teams from the other side of the world playing against each other that nobody cares about. And unless it's the World Cup, you're not going to get significant numbers from those countries traveling to watch the matches. You're not. Going back to my original argument about the entire tournament, as optimistic as you want to be about Ulsan fans or Mamelodi Sundowns fans, the number of fans there are for a club is a hell of a lot smaller than the number of people there are in a country. And what you get at the World Cup is all of the people in that country that love football or soccer that want to travel to go watch that match. I don't know if you're ever going to get that in the Club World Cup. So yes, right now it's weird. Right now nobody has any idea what's going on, but we know FIFA's going to persist with it and spend a bunch of money on it. I think even the best case scenario, you're still going to end up with a couple of matches like that. In which case, I'd kind of recommend going to one, right? The tickets are unbelievably cheap by the time it gets to game time, and the vibes were actually pretty great. They were. Maybe it was the lightning delay, but there was a certain camaraderie. Like all of the neutrals, all the people that were just at Disney World over from England or whatever, I met some of those people too that just wanted to see a match. They got into it. It was fun.